They just need to get to a point where you close the feedback loop for the first time, meaning you build something, you got it out there, and someone used it, even one person, and you like loved it. And then once you close this feedback loop for the first time, it gets addicting because, okay, what more I can do? Who else can use that?
Welcome to episode 29 of Tool Use, the weekly conversation about helpful AI tools that you can use today, brought to you by Anetic. I'm Mike Bird, along with Ty Fierro, and this week we're doing a builder profile. We're talking to a builder, explorer, founder, one of our favorite people in the open source community. It's Adam Cohen Hillel. Adam, welcome to Tool Use.
Thank you very much for having me, guys. Good to see you.
Well, it's super good to have you on. We'll start with the question we ask everybody, but I'm kind of curious how you got into the AI space and how you kind of your journey thus far into getting into building.
Yeah, I mean, my journey in the AI space is actually not too long ago, but one of the first before all of everything that is happening. So I started building with a GPT-2 in 2020. I was trying to. My grandma just died, and I was trying to find a way to clone her. So I was looking at all the machine learning. I did some machine learning courses on Coursera, and then I looked into GPT-2, who was a thing at the time. GPT-3 also came out already, but it was behind a closed waitlist. So I played with GPT-2, and I'm like, man, this is shit. This is not working at all. This is not doing anything. So I just left it and did some other stuff, and then slightly before ChatGPT came out, GPT-3 was more widely available via the API, so I started seeing it's a bit better, and ever since I played, so how the space skyrocketed. So
yeah, and I mean, it's been cool watching you not only do some software projects, but you did hardware as well. So do you want to just talk about what drives you to explore and how you kind of choose what the next initiatives you're going to work on is?
Yeah, I mean, I did hardware for a bit. I'm still playing with a bit with hardware, but man, it's so much different. I've been in software for so long that when trying to learn something new from scratch, it's so challenging. But I did many projects in the last year or so. I think this is how me and Ty mainly got connected initially via the Adeus wearable 01. I just want to play with things, it's just fun. It's fun learning, but it's more fun than when you get something out there and you get feedback from people. So I would not say I definitely enjoyed learning hardware or soldering or trying to install low level, I don't know, all of the stuff that you need to do for ESP32. But seeing all the traction from Twitter, it was insane. So yeah.
What makes hardware so hard to do? I mean, we played with a lot with hardware with the 01 project, and discovered how difficult hardware really is to do and how hard it is to bring to market. What do you think makes hardware so hard to play with?
I think it's really easy, and by easy I mean it is doable to just learn and do DIY stuff yourself at home. You can buy a Raspberry Pi, you can buy ESP32, you can, there are many projects on YouTube that you can just follow. Obviously now with the ChatGPT and Cursor, it's even easier. But the main challenge is how you can scale it. So you have this nice prototype, you put it out there, you have a nice demo. Now you have 10, 100, 1,000 orders. How you fulfill these orders, and it's not like software where you can just update the next iteration within a few days. You upfront, you need to think, okay, how I'm going to fix issues that will come out, software-wise, but hardware-wise as well. You need to think about so many things that it's really, especially when you're just starting and not necessarily have money, you have so many things to make right up front that it is almost impossible to do. And that's, I'm not saying it as a guy who succeeded in this space. I'm actually saying it from the other side. I kind of put my commercial hardware project on the side and went back to software and kept the hardware more of a fun hobby exploration stage, mainly for those reasons, because it's really hard to actually get to production scale and all of that for now.
Yeah, I mean, you can't issue an over-the-air update for hardware. What you ship is what they get. Even embedded systems are a lot more difficult. What type of thing are you focusing on now then? Can you go into it a bit?
Yeah, I mean, in the last few months, I've been building AI agents for cybersecurity. So I have quite a lot of cybersecurity background, but more specifically, I was building AI agents to find vulnerabilities in smart contracts. But I would say that my exploration edge, kind of exploration eke, I would say, is pushing me to not focus on that and start exploring a bit more. I have a few ideas I just want to build with AI agents, with hardware as well, consumer B2B. I just there are so many opportunities here, so I'm in the right moment. I'm in the middle of like trying to decide how to go about it, because I'm seeing what we briefly talked about it before that, but I'm seeing what levels Peter is doing. He's just like going after his curiosity. Doesn't care about VC. Doesn't care about like making product that scales. Just go about his curiosity, building that. And he obviously makes a lot of money. He has a lot of great reputation. And I'm like, maybe I should just go after my curiosity instead of fighting it. Um, on the other hand, like to do what I'm trying to do with the cyber stuff, you need to focus. You need to set up a bit more than fun projects. So
I mean, it's really interesting hearing you say that, because when we look at you, we see you shipping all these different things. Like, you have a wealth of information in your background. What do you think it is about like agency that drives people towards this? Like, do you think there's something that you're just born with? Do you think you can develop it? Like, how do people try to get that curiosity or explore their curiosity more often?
I think you really need to have a few wins to. I'm not saying like making a lot of money or anything like that, but just need to get to a point where you close the feedback loop for the first time. Meaning you build something, you got it out there, and someone used it, even one person, and you're like loved it. And then once you close this feedback loop for the first time, it gets addicting. Because okay, what I can do, what more I can do, who else can use that, who can use the other stuff I'm building. Where what I'm seeing with some of my friends and other people, that they get stuck in the last stage of the feedback loop. They're just about to get someone to use their product. They are just about to put it in production. They're just about, and then they move to the next thing. And then if they never close the loop, it's really hard to keep going after your curiosity forever. With that being said, I've been many times in places where I'm just about, and I move to different projects. So I experienced that as well.
Seems like shipping is kind of the most important part here. Yeah, that last step. That's something that I've discovered too. I mean, both recently and in the past. Like I'm definitely the type of person that starts a bunch of side projects and don't finish them. I'm getting better at it now, but it is that last like 10% that is the hardest for people. So just like shipping it before it's ready is kind of super important. That's something that Levels has done too. I mean, his little demo with his little flight simulator he's been making on Twitter recently. It's super cool, but he's been like, he shipped the first version of it and it was bad. And it was like kind of laughably bad, but he, talked about it in his post about how, it doesn't do this and it doesn't do this. And my server keeps crashing for some reason, but he just kept shipping updates and now it's really, really impressive. Are there any other skills you think are very valuable for that, like maybe Peter does, or that are like useful for shipping more side projects?
Man, he is insane. Everything is just insane. I think, and again, I'm very much involved in all the conversation that is happening on his wall specifically, and he just don't give a fuck. So if someone kind of like shit on what he's doing, I think he dived into a long conversation with someone who told him that it would not scale, and instead of like not replying or getting angry, he was just like trying to understand why. And then a lot of people came in and told him how we can improve it to scale, and then just copy that, put it in Cursor. Now it's scaled for 500 people, and he will keep doing that, and haters will keep coming, and he just doesn't care about haters, from what it seems. And yeah, I think again, like curiosity, like he's doing it from what it seems. He's just curious to see if it works. Try to be curious. And I think many people are curious, but again, I think it's a feedback loop that you need to close for the first time.
And that's one thing I do love about Twitter. Even if you do get a lot of the hate from the slums of the internet, it's still really valuable to get it in the hands of people, be able to expose it. Like Ty said, ship early, even if it's bad. Do you use any other platforms or different methods to get feedback on your projects, or is it mostly a Twitter-centric audience?
I think on Twitter is definitely like more welcoming for that kind of environment, but many times, and that is the kind of thinking I'm trying to go away from, is I'm still waiting for it to be perfect enough to post it on Twitter. I'm not debugging on Twitter with the Twitter audience. I tried here and there to build more in public, but I'm not truly doing that. Sometimes most of the things I do post, they're a bit more way more polished. So even though Twitter is accepting that, I think me and many others are not actually taking advantage of it to the great value you can achieve from that. On other spaces, I do in San Francisco in the house. I do everything I build. Like people use that in the house first. So I built like a product called Liars AI a few months ago. We used to play with it in the house, trying to like take a video of other people, see if they're lying. We found a lot of bugs, a lot of issue with that, and then after like a few more weeks, I actually published it on Twitter. But other than that, I don't do anything else. I should do a bit more reach out for my current like cyber agent, either via Twitter or emailing. But I'm purely either posting on Twitter or the people I know in real life.
Well, let us know if you want anything. But actually, could we double click on that? You mentioned the house. We visited there. You made a great coffee for us. But could you tell the audience like what you're referring to and why it's so valuable?
Yeah, so the house is two things. So the hacker house I live in San Francisco. So it's a house of the program called the Residency, which by the way I highly recommend everyone to apply. This is basically they have houses all around the world. They have houses in Berlin, London, Dubai, obviously San Francisco, New York, and the entire goal of the program is not to teach you anything or nothing like that. You just live next to very ambitious people like yourself. You wake up, you make your coffee, you open your laptop and do whatever you are working on. But next to you, there is someone who's working on like drones or like scalable apps or rocket engines and whatnot. And then where I also do is at Founders Inc., which is another location in San Francisco. It's like a big warehouse where a lot of the San Francisco innovation is currently now focused around. So you have a lot of builders that literally builds from everything. So from VR to hardware to software, consumer, B2B, literally everything. And then, which by the way, I will highly recommend applying there as well, online f.inc, or you can message people from the team on Twitter and they probably will reply. And again, this is insane. I grew up in Israel, and most of my life I built by myself. So I never had like a community around me of builders who have the same interest. I never had entrepreneurial friends who build companies. I was basically sitting in my room, building apps, building products, and I was lucky enough to get the early feedback loop for the stuff I was doing as a kid. But I wished what I found in San Francisco, I wished I had my entire life. Just the people around you who are in the same mindset as you are. Yeah.
I feel so much FOMO not being in San Francisco sometimes. It's like it's such a magical place down there. I mean, I'm in Seattle, which is probably one of the, maybe top 5 places in the US for tech, but it still is like there's something magical about the Bay Area. What makes San Francisco so special? And like, do you think it's something that's like super important for like early builders that, don't have roots somewhere? Should they just get up and go to San Francisco?
I mean, definitely yes. I wish I came earlier. I came around like a year ago. I hoped I would come maybe like 5 years ago. Um, and I feel your FOMO. I'm not there right now. Obviously I spent some time in Seattle. I mean, Seattle is amazing, but I've not experienced the city too much to know. But comparing San Francisco to London or Israel, where I lived for many years in both of those places, is the main difference I think is like the hacker house culture. So there is this whole culture of hustle, people working to get like next to each other. There is no like work-life balance to some degree. I mean, there is, but it's a period in your life that it's dedicated to build. And I mean, compared to Israel, you have many startups. It's a big startup ecosystem, but most of the people are a bit more a bit older, and they will go back home to their families, which is fine. I mean, I hope to experience that as well. But early on, not when you don't have nothing to go back to, wife, family, kids, and all of that, having those people around you to just make you look higher and be more ambitious. This is amazing. So the hacker house culture, and then obviously everything around it. So around the hacker house culture comes all the hackathons, and then comes all the VC money and places like Founders Inc. But I think it all starts from this notion of the hacker house, which is, by the way, I mean, have you seen the Silicon Valley show, HBO Silicon Valley?
I just rewatched it,
Culture. That's amazing. Like that's one of the best. I used to watch it as a teenager, and now I lived it myself, so that's amazing.
One thing that we've noticed talking to a lot of people in the AI space is the constant feeling of being overwhelmed with the vast amount of information coming out. There's so many models being released, tools being released. If only there was a way to keep up with all of the information.
So we built something pretty cool. So based on the information you provide us, we'll create a custom newsletter delivered to your inbox every single morning with the best AI tools, best AI model releases, customized to you every single morning.
So head over to anetic.co to sign up for the waitlist so you can get your curated newsletter every day.
So with the side projects and coding in general, like there's been so many tools over the last 2 years that have come out that really helped us ship faster. And we've had some people on this show, and it seems like everyone has their own kind of workflows for how they, build projects and how they build tools. What's your workflow look like? What are some of the tools you're using? Are you using Cursor or Windsurf, or like how do you go about building projects nowadays?
Yeah, I'm biggest sucker for Cursor. What they're doing is just insane. And every few weeks, I keep using it. I find a new thing. So like 2 weeks ago, I realized this whole time I had this small toggle to change between composer chat to an agent, and that is just 10x everything. This is just insane. It actually runs for like few minutes sometimes to figure things out. So Cursor 100%. The sad part actually is that people are outside of this Twitter sphere, Twitter bubble, don't know about Cursor. I keep introducing it to people, like very smart people in Israel, like people who did like a computer science degree, people who've been to top cybersecurity units. Like they are very highly technical people, and they haven't heard of Cursor. Other than that, I've been using some tools like SoftGen, if you've heard of it, from Marco. Is a great guy. Used to live with us as well. Those are the main ones. I'm now in the search for an automation for a reach out on Twitter, finding people. I actually use it. Have you heard of Exa?
Yep.
So they released a new tool recently called Websets, and it's like amazing. They basically scraped the entire internet and then took the entire internet in batches and took it through embedding models. So they embedded basically the entire internet. And now you can search for, I want 100 founders who founded Web3 companies. And they will just come up with those people, their LinkedIn. And then you can be more specific that they posted something about that space in the last months. And then it can even be more specific. So that Google on steroids mixed with ChatGPT and all together. So Exa is a great tool I would definitely look into. And they're selling a consumer product, but also for API developers.
Excellent. We've been using deep research a lot lately. Still haven't tried Websets, but it's on the list. I got an email about it. What gaps do you see in your workflow that you think could be filled with AI tools that maybe just don't exist yet, or maybe they're just not mature enough yet? Because like Cursor covers the code, Websets covers the research. What else do you feel you're still doing manually that AI could help with?
I mean, sadly, emails. I know there are solutions for that, but for some reason, there are great solutions out there that I haven't tried it. Do you know a good email? I don't know a new email. I want to use my Gmail, but I want to take it through Cursor.
So last week we had a guest, Sarah Alali. She's the CEO of Lobby AI. They're still in waitlist, but check out thelobby.ai to check that out.
Lobby.ai.
And historically, I used Shortwave, which is just a wrapper around Gmail. It actually uses some of the engineers who used to work on Gmail, and it brings in a few AI features. I never ended up upgrading to paid, so I don't know the full capabilities, but yeah, there's a couple out there.
Yeah, I think what is challenging there is capturing tone, which I'm not sure how to go about it, because you do need a lot of data from the way you like to write, your relationship with the other person that you are chatting with, which is not necessarily exist on online or in a digital form. So I think it will be a big challenge. But once there is a solution there, I would definitely use that, because keeping on the inbox is very challenging. I think everything around. For a few months, I was doing a few things that I needed a lot of social accounts. So like TikTok accounts, Twitter accounts, Instagram accounts for like different experiments with posting for different products. And I know it sounds stupid, but creating accounts is very challenging. You need to come up with a new email with a phone number. You need to warm it up. They then capture that you are a bot and they suspend the account. Surprisingly, I'm still doing so many manual things in this world. I mean, I can go on and on. I have a few more ideas. If people are listening and going to build some products, I have a few more ideas.
I think what's really interesting, you touched on with the tone thing, is the I think people have a higher filter now for AI slop. Like you can kind of tell, I can tell on a lot of comments on Twitter and on LinkedIn. It's like, oh, that came directly out of ChatGPT. You can just tell it has this kind of flavor to it. So it feels like this tone problem or making these things sound like you is still an unsolved problem. I even admittedly have tried to build like a Twitter bot that like makes tweets for me. And it's so disappointing. Like probably 95, 96% of the tweets are just garbage. And it puts the little hashtags and emojis in, and it's like, this isn't 2014, guys. Like, come on. It feels like a really tough problem to kind of use right now. So it almost feels too like with all these people using AI tools and this like bullshit factor essentially kind of or filter going up, some things being manual actually can kind of be an advantage now. The more people are using AI, is there anything that you think should stay manual or things that should not be automated?
So I think the Twitter stuff is a great example. So I experienced, so I created like a few months ago Adam 2.0, which is basically a clone of me tweeting on Twitter. I downloaded my entire Twitter feed it to it, created like this personality. And yes, so many times it was like complete bullshit. But once in a while I did find like a good tweet. I was like, glad it's funny, or like I know where it came from. And even in the shitty ones, I was like still engaging with it. I was like, it was saying something. I was like, this is yapping. I was like, comment on the AI, you are a yapper, and it somehow entered the training set. Now it feels like Adam hates Adam. But I think there is a lot of space for like Twitter bots on Twitter. I think this can be very engaging. I think it's a new form of entertainment, like from my experience with Adam 2.0. But I still want to know when I speak to a real human. I have a friend from SF as well called Dada, and he used a tool called Shapes, which by the way, Shapes.inc, they have a really great Twitter clone engine. I don't know what they did there, but their output is really, really good, to a degree that a friend of mine, Dada, was onboarded on their solution and then started engaging with me on Twitter from his real account. And I was like, he commented on one of my tweets, and I was like, this is completely incorrect. So I replied to Dada, this is just not true. And then he replied back to me, and I was like, got into a fight with him over Twitter. And then when I saw him in the house in the evening, I was like, bro, what the fuck? Like, what's going on here? And he was like, oh, it's not me, it's the AI. And then like, it was able to trick me. But even in that case, I was so pissed at him that about this concept of if you are an AI, be an AI, tell me you're an AI. But if I speak to you that I want to know this is you, I don't want an AI to manage your account. And actually, the reason I created my own Adam 2.0 was because Shapes did not want to connect my personality to not to my main account, and I wanted to keep my main account my true self. So I had to create my own version there, which was not as good as Shapes.inc.
Yeah, I think being genuine and establishing connection is going to be super important, especially as more and more noise gets put out there. I do agree though. I think like a business account that's clearly labeled as a bot, putting out content that's relevant to people is a valuable asset. But I like having my own account just to be like, this is me, these are my thoughts. Like, don't worry, it's the pure thing. Do you think there's any need for technology to kind of help people differentiate who they're interacting with online? Like, do you think bots that aren't clearly marked are a net negative and we should try to establish something to like proof of personhood? Or do you think that's getting a little too imposing on our digital rights?
Yeah, so after a project I built a few months ago called I Am Human, it was basically a wrapper around Twitter, and where every time you're about to tweet, it opens up the iPhone's Face ID. So only if you are human you can comment, and then I wanted to create like a mechanism where you can prove you commented as a human. And the reason it's not public is because Apple did not allow me to publish it. After a few months of fighting, I gave up. So I do, to your question, I do think there is a lot of value in knowing that you're speaking to a real human. On the other hand, with our current society, I do think there is some value of not necessarily knowing if it's a human or not, because we're in this stage where you can have a great AI that creates a lot of value, but people dismiss this value just because it's an AI. So it's not necessarily a net negative in that case. And other than that, like, I do think there should be like a firewall layer between what I consume on the internet, regardless of whether it's an AI or human generated. I think we should get to a place where I think a lot of people talk about it on Twitter, of the psychology firewall or of like information. So not so you kind of control what you consume and not being a slave for the algorithm essentially.
I've always wondered if there's some product out there that there should be a product out there that is like certified human, kind of like how like you go to the grocery store and you see the bananas and the bananas have like an organic sticker on it. Like that has to be certified organic to get the sticker. And I worked at a brewery for a long time and I know how hard it is to get an organic like license to do that type of thing. I've always wondered if there's like a certified human type of label you could put on something. I don't know. So if anyone's listening, someone should build that.
I mean, I might pick up the fight with Apple again with the app, and yeah, I think. By the way, I actually wrote about it. I have an essay called "Proof of Personhood: Tech Triumphs Over State Monopoly." That's like the title of the essay, and it discusses about the power shift that is currently happening between that comes out of the need, so we cannot like identify humans online anymore. Government issued IDs and all of that is not as relevant, it's not as useful in the digital realm, and it puts Apple and Google in one of the craziest positions in the world to take advantage of this transition, because they basically deployed a biometric devices across a billion plus individuals around the world. So I mean, we are talking about Sam Altman doing the orb and the WorldCoin and all of that, but Apple is positioned to be like world dominating proof of personhood layer of society. And if we are going to get in like 5 to 10 years to a place where it is like a crazy need, which we might get to that, then Apple probably be the one to. I'm not sure I want to live in that world after not being not accepted to App Store so many times, but they definitely position the best to beat those people.
Yeah, that's a solid perspective. I know we've had a talk in the past about privacy and security. The idea of WorldCoin doesn't sit right with me. I hate the idea of my eyeballs being scanned. You're not going to find me on that system anytime soon. But I do agree that having some type of validation is important. Did you want to talk about any possible like areas that we can improve privacy, or any tools that exist out there to help with that realm of the open source world?
Yeah, I'm thinking a lot about it. Like, my name of my company is called the Privacy and Sovereignty Company, and it all started to find those ways. And I think the biggest challenge right now is education. Like, people just don't care. Like, we do care. You showed me like a talk you gave a few years ago. You definitely care, but people don't care. Like no one cares about. They just want to delegate everything to Apple. They just trust Apple. They just trust this marketing label. So I'm thinking about it. I'm not sure how to approach this. I'm trying to think about the chain of events that will convince a person like my mother to care about privacy, and I don't have an answer for that. I think solutions exist out there. So you obviously have the different email that are a bit more private. I think that you have like browser like Brave and many other solutions, but people just don't have the enough agency to do that. And I mean, I myself can do much better. So right now I'm in the transition to take all of my iCloud images to my own local storage, but there's a lot of trade-off there, because now I need to be in charge of making sure my images from the last 10 years would not get deleted or destroyed. And it's so much more convenient to just trust Apple. So I don't know, what do you guys think? Like, how do you think humanity can change on that front?
I agree with the education. I actually end up converting most of my family and a lot of my friends over to Signal, because I'm just not going to message you on another platform. So if you want to talk, we're going to talk there. Just play hardball a little bit. But those incremental steps help. But yeah, a lot of times people won't, like, there'll be resistance to switching to Proton Mail as an example. One person we've been talking to, the company StackLock, they're building a product called CodeGate, which actually is a little proxy where your LLM calls run through and it'll redact PII. And just little things like that. If we can start having background processes, things that reduce the friction for people to change. Because, like I said, I, back in the day, had my Amazon Prime account had free Amazon photos, so I could back up everything there. I'm like, this is great. All my photos on the cloud. Then you find out Amazon trains their AI on it. It's like, oh, great. I just like handed over my images, and there's no download all button. You have to go one at a time and just get everything. So I'm locked in without spending a lot of time.
There's a really interesting idea too, where it's not just about like privacy necessarily. Like there's a lot of things we just put on the internet willingly. And actually, I think it was our first episode, Mike, our second episode, we've posted something to YouTube, and I had a video of Mike talking, and I just went to 11 Labs and I cloned his voice, and it was good. Like, it's really good. And so I was able to impersonate Mike well. And because we've been putting so much stuff out online, I mean, we have so many episodes on the internet now that really anyone can go and clone our voices. And don't do that if anyone's listening. But like, I had to tell my mom and my dad and like people that I'm close to that like, you may get a phone call someday and it's going to sound just like me, but it won't be me. So, ask me a question. It's like, there's this almost deep, I don't know if it's like a privacy thing, it's more of a security, but it's this deeper layer of, you have images of yourself out on the internet and you have video of yourself on the internet, and people can just take that and clone it and do vile things with it. And so that's an area that I'm like worried about, but we have so much stuff out there already that it's like, it doesn't feel like there's much we can do about it.
Yeah, I mean,
Do you guys have code words with your parents?
so I was just about to say I actually have code words. I
Yeah.
think you might have told me to do that, Mike. But I have code words with my parents, kind of like for like the high level. If I need something, ask something, I must use that. But to what you said, that so what you said, I have two issues, different ones I see. So one of the issues is like definitely someone can clone you, your face, your voice, especially if you have so much data on the internet, and that's problematic. But I think there, like with enough awareness, people will start like less relying on videos and images, which will be good to fight that kind of a thing. But it will also introduce a bad thing where if you cannot trust a video footage anymore, it means so many other things. So if there is a politician who did something awful and there is an image of that politician, now you have, it's so much easy to say, this is an AI generated. Or I mean I experienced that, like a lot of people. Let's not get into that, but a lot of people look a bit more like Holocaust deniers now, and now they have a much better ground to deny those things, because photos have literally no ground you cannot ground them in reality anymore. And then what is history? How you can? It's really. I think it challenges on those two fronts actually. So I have zero idea on how to go about it, unfortunately.
I remember one of the big tech companies, might have been Google or something. I don't remember specifically, but they did something where they tried to fingerprint like AI generated images to where it's like, okay, this is clearly AI generated or whatever else. And I remember on Twitter, someone within like 3 days of that protocol dropping was like, oh, figured it out. Now I can just add this to anything. So it's like, there's this game of cat and mouse that feels like we'll never really, I don't know if we'll have a technology that will just so clearly delineate AI generated versus humans. I think we live in a reality now to where anything you see online could be created by AI or could be created by a human. It's such a weird time to live right now. And yeah, it really makes you think. Okay, so we're talking a lot about privacy and talking a lot about security, and you have the cybersecurity background, and this is kind of taking the conversation a little bit different direction, but do you have any tips for developers or like builders on like what the 80-20 is of app security or like security in general? Because I think there's like some things that are definitely important, cross-site scripting and some of these other things, but I'm curious your perspective on this. Also, just for my own curiosity, because I'm building my own apps right now, is there like the top tips you'd give for an app builder or someone that's shipping things on security?
I think I will take the levels approach. I think Cursor is so amazing these days to help you identify like security. Cursor, Cloud under the hood, or like DeepSeek and all that, help you identify issues amazingly. I mean, it's like, I think that's the 80%. I think the 20% it obviously will be a bit more challenging. Will require a way more sophistication of the attacker side. But for most things, I think if you would, and I don't think people do that just yet, they will ask it to generate more code, but they don't ask it to, okay, let's go over the code and make sure it's a bit more secure. So I would do that. Everything you put out there, like an app or an API or whatnot, just have a few iterations with O1 or any one of those models, and try and basically ask it, hey, try to find the way to attack this, or to make it break, or to make it work in a way that will act as a vulnerability. So yeah, look at those tools not only from like generative coding, but also to be your security copilot, because they are really, really good. Especially if you are using well-known like Python, React stuff, technologies like that.
You dropped a bunch of knowledge on us today, but if you were to give just a little bit of advice to a new builder, someone that's enthralled with the idea of the hacker house, building their own project and really shipping something, yourself 10 years ago, what type of advice would you give them?
Definitely come to SF, like for sure. try to apply to a bunch of those programs again and again. I think I haven't done it enough myself, and I think one lack of knowledge. But if you are listening to this podcast, you definitely now know that there are so many different programs in SF and in around the world. Like there are really good ones in Canada. Like the residency have a house in Canada as well, and in Europe, and in the Middle East. So literally everywhere. Apply to those, but even if you're not accepted to one of those, that's completely fine. I was not accepted to most of the things I applied to. I would just be on Twitter as much as possible. Like Twitter, and I tell it to people, my friends, and that are very highly intellectual people, they are not on Twitter. It's not like a big thing in Israel, which is a shame because so many of the great people are on Twitter. And if you are there enough time and you make the algorithm work in a way that it actually brings you the information that you are interested in, it takes time. Like when you just open a new Twitter account, it takes like a few weeks, a month to actually get value from it. Like I just opened a new account for my Adam 2.0 and I was like, whoa, this is terrible. I don't want to see any of this information. And only after I liked a few posts and a few following, it started to change. And then the last thing on top of that is just share stuff that you do on Twitter. Literally 99.9% of the things I achieved or the connections I had were purely out of me posting stuff online that I've built, and that introduced me to other stuff. So I got to know you guys through some stuff I published on Twitter, and then because of that, I was invited to come to Seattle, which I did. And then I did those wearable stuff, which opened up me coming to Founders Inc. initially, and then to the residency. None of them would have necessarily accepted me if they did not see those things up front. Those things literally were the reason I came to SF, but then not accepted to those places. So just take advantage of like putting stuff out there on Twitter, and even if people don't see that initially, like just keep doing stuff. So I mean, if you seen my Twitter feed, like my early stuff got maybe like 1 like or 0 likes for most of the time, and then I had a few pics of some things that went viral. But other than that, I'm still seeking the virality and the attention.
Yeah, and I just want to second that because same thing. I was using Twitter a bit. Actually, used it back in the day, quit because it was just a rage machine. Then got back into it, started doing some AI stuff. My first viral tweet was a demo of Open Interpreter, got me the job there, and just injected me into this AI community. And yeah, it was just from being able to be a little bit vulnerable, put out something you're interested in, and you never know who sees it, and then it can really change your life.
Luck equals doing things times telling people. I absolutely love that saying because you can do a lot, but if you don't tell a soul, it still equals 0 on the luck factor, and vice versa. You could yap a lot and not do anything, and you're, not going to be really seen as a builder. So it's definitely a balance. But okay, I got one last question for me, and I'm curious what you're most excited for in the AI space in the next year. What technologies do you see in the next year coming out that you're most hyped about and excited to build on?
I think a lot of the wearable stuff that started like a year, like the AI hardware space. I mean, I hope to see something come out of it, whether it is from the friends, from Avi, or from other people playing this space, Nick, Omi. Seeing something that is truly valuable, I would love to see that. Like, I'm really looking forward to the Meta Ray-Ban SDK. I just want to play with it because I have some use cases I want to try. So that would be really cool. Other than that, from what I plan to play with, just I won't say better models because the models we currently have are like so many ideas. I will stay with my first answer, AI hardware stuff.
Love it. Well, Adam, this has been a blast. Really appreciate you coming on. Always fun catching him and talking. Before we let you go, is there anything you want to share with the audience?
I think that's great. I think other than that, if anyone liked what I said, I'm always happy to chat on Twitter. You can always DM me, send me an email on my Substack, anything, just reach out. I'm happy to help. And if you're building something interesting, I always love to support. And from the smallest projects to the bigger ones, I just love seeing builders doing stuff. So do reach out.
Well, it's great talking to you, Adam. Thanks for being on, and we'll talk to you soon, I'm sure.
Thank you, guys.